I've got a new video for you guys because we're talking about the not so honorable judge who has put Britney Spears in her conservatorship and who has acted quite unethically as her time serving in California's judicial system. So today we're going to talk about what she has done to Britney and what she has done in her career that points towards corruption. So let's get into it. As some of you guys may know, I've been covering the Free Britney movement for some time. I'm a huge fan of Britney, and I believe that she deserves her freedom. Actually, check out this new shirt I got. I know it's like right below where the frame is, but it says Free Britney, and it's got an OG picture of her. My little brother actually gave it to me for Christmas, so thank you. But anyways, today in this video, I am focusing on the judge who took away Britney's freedom from her because Judge Reva Goetz seems to be problematic, and she has a track record to go along with this assumption. I'm not trying to be like disrespectful, but I'm going to call her Judge Riva in this video because I'm not too sure how to say her last name. Like, it looks like Goetz, but I also went to this website, Pronounce Names, and they call her like Guts. Let's see. Guts. So Judge Reva Goetz. Judge Guts. Like, I'm just gonna call her Judge Riva because I feel like Guts, it could be Goats. I don't know. I have no idea. So Judge Riva is problematic, and let me tell you why. So a lot of these receipts are pulled from my friend Britney Hiatus on Twitter. Definitely go check them out. They have been a huge resource for the Free Britney movement and keeping everyone informed on what's going on. So pretty much this judge, she first off got her education from a school that is known as one of the worst institutions in the nation and actually had to be shut down because of low student achievement. So that's where she got her degree, a law school that had to be shut down because students were doing so poorly and graduating with degrees that they truly did not earn. So that gives you some insight into her education background. So there are websites you can go and you can actually leave reviews about judges. I thought it was funny because, you know, Yelp for like restaurants and things, well, you can leave a review on your judge, and she has some pretty bad reviews. She's known as having a horrible track record as a judge. She's extremely unprofessional and a disgusting judge who lacks any form of integrity or ethics. And that's literally coming from the reviews. So these people do not like her. Others say that she doesn't care about the law at all, and she's literally the worst judge I've ever appeared before. So this woman obviously has some problems because I feel like, okay, one bad review, I get it. You got a salty Karen, but multiple bad reviews and a rating like this that is so low, it's a like incredible achievement to reach this level of hatred online where people hate you from the courtroom and they've taken it to the internet because you have done them so wrong. I don't know if you're reading some of those reviews that were coming up on the screen, but like one in particular called her a monster because she is just disgusting and she cheats, and that's what they have experienced. And of course, I can't say this is fact or not, but I'm just pulling information from the internet, and it's all alleged, it's all opinion. So Miss Judge, don't get your panties in a bundle because I'm not the only one saying this stuff. Judge Riva also has a rating of 1.7 out of 10. This information is coming from a website called Robbing Room, and you can see that attorneys give her a 1.7 and people who aren't attorneys, so people who have had to deal with her, give her a 1. So obviously this woman has treated some people pretty poorly, and I think Britney Spears could be one of them. But Britney is not the only person that Judge Riva has put in a conservatorship. She has also put celebrities like Mickey Rooney and Ziza Gabor, hopefully I was saying his name correctly, but she put them in conservatorships along with people who aren't famous at all. These people have shared their experiences online, and one in particular claims that this judge has allowed lawyers to steal millions of dollars from them. So obviously they are capable enough to go online and to understand that lawyers are taking a ton of money, but this judge thinks they belong in a conservatorship, and there's the problem. As for Britney Spears, on February 1st, 2008, her father was granted a temporary conservatorship over her life, and he claimed that she was experiencing a dementia-related illness, and that's why she needed to be in the conservatorship where he would control her estate and her personal affairs. He had no evidence that she had dementia or a dementia-related related illness, but the judge approved of this. Why?
This extreme legal measure usually occurs when the subject has physical or mental limitations to care for themselves. But Britney's rough patch was many years ago. So why is she still under a conservatorship?
That's a great question. Why is she in a conservatorship? And that question was asked a long time ago. So why? And when she was put in the conservatorship, it wasn't like they were following a typical protocol. They actually broke a lot of rules. By law, Britney was supposed to be notified 5 days in advance so that she could get legal representation before someone takes total control over her life. However, Britney's father asked the court to waive this right, and Judge Riva granted it, keeping Britney Spears in the dark about what's going on with the conservatorship, because pretty much the dad claimed that Britney could run and she could leave to Mexico or whatever. She was a flight risk, which wasn't true. And he coordinated with this woman to make sure Britney Spears couldn't escape the wrath of this conservatorship. Even though the judge approved of Britney's father to waive this right, she ended up getting a lawyer named Adam who would have been great and probably could have gotten her out of this mess at that time. But the Judge Riva literally kicked him out of the room, claiming he has no right to be there, which really means that Britney has no right to a lawyer, which is against her constitutional rights. And then she appointed Mr. Ingham, who's honestly the groundhog who did nothing for the last 12 years and decided randomly this year to start doing his job and actually representing his client. So I don't know how I feel about Samuel Ingham, because of course I like what he's doing now, but he also did a bunch of nothing for like a decade. So he was appointed by this judge, and I'm sure she knew that he would do nothing or do whatever she wanted him to do and collect millions of dollars while he's at it. And keep in mind, Samuel Ingham is appointed by the court to represent Britney Spears and do what she wants. For the last 12 years, he's done nothing. But like the past year, he has done some things. So I don't know if there was a switch. I don't know if he realized that if he doesn't start doing his job, he's going to go under with the rest of them. I have no idea, but it's a really sketchy situation. During this time when Britney was being put in the conservatorship, there was a lot going on. And when you're put in a conservatorship, they need to pretty much deem that you are not able to make any choices for yourself. It's called a capacity declaration. And they tried to get one from a psychiatrist in 2007 named Dr. James Long, but he actually refused because he knew that Britney Spears was all right, and the people who were trying to coordinate this are obviously the people who have been trying to take over her life for some time and who did successfully for the past decade. It's time to kick these people out. Again, a lot was happening at this time, and things were fast moving because as soon as they found out that that doctor wasn't going to do the capacity declaration, Samuel Ingham recommended another doctor, and the judge approved of this recommendation. But 2 days later, Samuel Ingham came back to the courtroom with the capacity declaration in hand, and it wasn't from the doctor he originally recommended. It was from a doctor named James Sparr, who declared that Britney lacked the capacity to hire an attorney or attend these hearings. So she can't even attend the hearings where they're discussing her freedom and her ability to make choices. Like, obviously they're trying to isolate her so that she has no say in what's going on here. Also, how is the judge going to prove that one doctor can do the review, but then he comes with like the review from another doctor and she accepts the capacity declaration from that other doctor? It's just like, I don't understand the standards here. I feel like there may not be any. Well, once they deemed that Britney was unable to participate in her own legal proceedings, Judge Riva started doling out Britney's money. Her dad was given a paycheck of $2,500 a week and a brand new car. Tell me why this man is getting paid. Like, there's literally no reason. He's taking advantage of his daughter, and I don't know the relationship he has with this judge, but this seemed a little bit too easy for him to take control of. Meanwhile, at the same time as her father is getting $2,500 a week, she's getting $1,500 a week of her own money that she earned. That already just is a red flag. I mean, why is she getting paid less than her father? And including her father's pay and her father's car, there are also a bunch of attorneys that were added on to the whole estate and stipend that are making money off of Britney when they are not even included in the initial contract resolution situation for her conservatorship. So they're over here taking her estate and then sending out the paychecks to whoever they want, probably their friends or their connects in the system. And that's how corruption works, guys. At this point, the judge is doing the most. On March 17th, so February, March, literally a month and a half after she was put in a conservatorship, the judge starts selling Britney's cars, like selling them off, which, why does she have the right to do this? I could totally see Britney's father wanting her not to be able to drive, but also to just get the money from those cars that are just sitting there. It's just so sick to think about how money hungry these people are. But Britney did not give up. Britney never really gave up. Like, she might not seem very vocal about it now because I think she's scared of the whole fight here, but she was fighting back then, and she actually hired another attorney named John who attempted to bring her case from state to federal court, saying that her civil rights were violated, which sounds pretty accurate to me. I feel like this man has a good point. And John, this attorney man, actually brought on a professor named William, an expert who testified that Britney's right to notice and right to an attorney were indeed violated by Judge Riva, and therefore the conservatorship orders should have been good for no more than 30 days. So this man, a professor in law, said, yo, this judge violated her constitutional rights, like literally her human rights as being an American. And what happened? Well, unfortunately, they would not hear the case because Judge Riva had already deemed Britney unable to hire an attorney of her own choice. Therefore, John wasn't able to represent her in the case. So Britney hired this man. He did the work. He probably wrote up a great case on why this is extremely problematic and wrong, but he wasn't able to represent her because at this point she was already deemed incapable of hiring an attorney. And I really think they did that specifically to make sure that Britney wasn't able to fight for herself. Like, they made sure in the beginning to take away her right to an attorney, to isolate her, and to make sure that when they make these huge legal changes that she will have no say at all. At this point in everything, Britney was still in a temporary conservatorship, but the judge was trying to make that permanent. She started by declaring her unfit to participate in the proceedings because of her, quote, diagnosis is not complete, quote, and she needs more medical tests. Like, what are they talking about? Like, why don't you go ahead and get it done quickly? Because this is an icon, a legend, a superstar, and I don't think we have time to waste to figure out what the medical diagnosis is. Maybe there just isn't one. Maybe she has a few mental health struggles and she could get some therapy and proper medication treatment, but that's not what these people want from her. Like, I'm trying to see this from their end, and I literally cannot see where they're trying to actually help her. It seems like every step of the way, they're trying to stop her from getting her freedom back. Then the judge extended Britney's temporary conservatorship through the end of the year, and at this point Britney agreed, but she agreed because the judge said that if they agree to this, the conservatorship will end sooner. So they're like, oh yeah, if you agree, we will end the conservatorship sooner, but obviously that wasn't going to happen because they were taking advantage of her. When it came time to rule, the judge made Britney's conservatorship permanent, saying it was necessary and appropriate because Britney was subject to undue influence. This will be in place for the rest of her life unless Britney moves to have it terminated, which is obviously very difficult for Britney to do. On that same day, Judge Riva actually deemed Britney unable to testify in a lawsuit brought by her former manager, Johnny Wright. You guys may remember Johnny Wright. I've mentioned him in a few videos before, but he worked alongside Larry Rudolph. And you might hear Larry Rudolph and be like, oh no. But this man, Johnny Wright, actually seemed like he was a legit manager, and Britney really enjoyed him, and he seemed authentic, and he did not like what was going on with Britney's conservatorship and the management style of Larry Rudolph, Lewin Taylor, and the others. Along with granting the permanent conservatorship, the judge actually granted Britney's father an increase in pay. So she decided to pay him more when the conservatorship became permanent. So of course, Britney Spears probably wouldn't want that to happen, but he gets whatever he wants as he controls her estate. For some reason, the court was paying him $75 an hour. They gave him a $51,000 payout, and they gave him an increase from $10,000 a month to $16,000 a month for his work with Britney Spears. And then finally, he was given an additional $1,200 on top of his $2,500 so that he can maintain his daughter's personal life and get her music career back on track. So he just won the lottery with this judge and got whatever he wanted and more. It seems almost too good to be true. Like maybe this group of attorneys and judges and people are friends somehow. I have no idea. But I do know on September 15th, 2020, the judge actually hosted a paid event with Britney's co-conservator, Andrew Wallett, and an attorney who has been working for Britney's father. The event was called, quote, Conservatorships for the High-Profile Public Figures, comma, does it work? And of course, this event seems like a little party for a bunch of these people to get together and pretty much figure out what they're going to do with their next conservatory. So obviously, I wouldn't trust any of these people, and they're all involved in Britney's conservatorship. But it gets even worse because this judge, not only does she work closely with these people professionally, in the legal world and hosting events and things like that, but they also work together on Britney's conservatorship, and I'm sure other cases, because in Britney's case, the judge actually paid Andrew Wallett $174,000 for services from July to November in 2007. So kind of a random payout, but something that seems kind of calculated in my opinion, allegedly, because this stuff, I'm saying allegedly, because this stuff is real corruption. I mean, this is kind of a side note, but this woman has also been involved in other high profile cases, like the one involving Courtney Love. Actually, on my birthday, December 11th, but back in 2009, this judge actually agreed to put Courtney Love's child, Frances Cobain, under a conservatorship. Frances owns the publicity rights to her father, Kurt Cobain's name and likeness. And notice in the receipts on the screen that the same attorneys who worked for Britney's father were also involved in Courtney's case. However, the judge was actually disqualified from Courtney's case and had to step away because the same attorneys work on Britney's case, and therefore the judge would be, quote, prejudiced towards one party, which makes sense to me. I mean, I don't think that this should even be going down. It seems like this group of people are the corrupt crew of critters who are taking over certain people in Hollywood. Speaking of further corruption, actually in 2010, there was an event that this judge hosted along with Samuel Ingham, Britney's court-appointed attorney, and James Sparr, the doctor who filed Britney's capacity declaration. And these people did a training program together, and it's clear that they are working together professionally all the time, and I feel like they are, scheming to do whatever work they want to do. Later that same year, Britney actually went and met with the judge, and during this meeting, Britney and her agreed to not change anything in her conservatorship case. Supposedly, it was a very nice conversation, but Britney was seen leaving the meeting crying. So I don't understand how a nice conversation would leave Britney Spears crying and upset, but of course, this judge seems to be ruthless. I mean, this situation is so incredibly messy. You guys may remember that attorney named Kate. We talked about her on my channel before. She used to work with Andrew Wallett back in his law firm, and she has actually spoken out against him several times now. And she also shared that she saw the judge and Andrew Wallett together at one of Britney's performances on the Femme Fatale tour. And it's incredible to think that they are over here hanging out at a Britney Spears show when they are deeming her, well, the judge is deeming her incapable of pretty much working or making her own choices, and yet she is over here touring the world and performing, and the judge is just watching, smiling, knowing that she is making a profit while Britney is performing on stage. In the following year, 2011, that's when this judge actually put Mickey Rooney in a conservatorship, and it was at the request of attorney Vivian Thorin, who you may remember her because she actually works in Britney Spears' case. She worked from the very beginning to actually recently, where she was hired by Britney's father's team last year to work to help keep Britney Spears in the conservatorship. So all these people are working together. This was actually the same year that Britney was sued by BrandSense over a fragrance dispute, and the judge actually deemed her not fit to testify under a deposition, which again, I feel like she would have been fine to testify, but if I were Britney, I probably wouldn't want to deal with that fragrance dispute anyways, because I'm sure whatever issue it was a fault on someone on her team, because she's not like running this show. Of course she's not. She has no rights in her life. Then in 2011, Britney was going to start the X Factor, and the judge actually met with Britney Spears for 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, she approved of her going on the X Factor. It's crazy to think that the judge has this power to approve whether Britney can take a job or not, but like why is this woman in a conservatorship yet she's working really high profile jobs? It doesn't really add up. Around this time, Britney was dating Jason Trawick, and he was her manager slash boyfriend who was actually added as a co-conservator to her personal affairs. So I feel like it's kind of weird that she's like, he was an agent and then she started dating him and now he's controlling part of her life, but that's something the judge approved of. And I feel like the judge approves of a lot of sketchy things. Like, it doesn't seem like this judge is trying to protect Britney. I mean, later that same year, Britney told the judge that she wants to be out of that conservatorship. She is ready for it to end, and that she's the only person in a conservatorship who has landed a $15 million work contract. Like, who else is in a conservatorship and bringing in that amount of money? There are people in conservatorships for dementia, for brain damage, for a lot of reasons, but Britney's reasoning doesn't make sense, and I don't think she should be in one. But when this request was presented to the judge, it pretty much fell flat and they did nothing with it. This judge is the only person who could approve of Britney's conservatorship ending, and she didn't, and I think there are reasons why. But going into 2013, in January, Britney and her fiance at the time, Jason, broke up, and the judge approved of him being removed as a co-conservator, which I'm glad. Can you imagine if she like kept him in there and it was her ex? But of course he was removed, and actually later that year in July, Britney was getting ready for her Las Vegas residency, and the judge was quoted saying that she was ready and excited for Britney. I'm sure she was. So excited to see how much more Britney is bringing in and how she can deal it out to her friends in Hollywood. But finally, at this point, the public was starting to wake up and realize that something is wrong here, because no one could be in a conservatorship and be bringing in this much money and be this productive. So I'm glad that people are starting to question whether the conservatorship is legitimate or not.
Britney's 2-year run at Planet Hollywood Las Vegas kicks off next week. It's, of course, a big undertaking for Britney. She's still deemed unfit to run her own life.
But of course, as Britney Spears became more successful, the judge started increasing the payouts to all of these people, including Andrew Wallett, who was making more than the President of the United States, $426,000 a year in 2014. That's an incredible amount of money, and I feel like he definitely did not earn it ethically. That's just my opinion. Moving along to 2015, Judge Riva retired from the bench, thank God, and she joined the mediation firm Alternative Resolution Center, labeled as a bad place where judges can go and continue to take advantage of the public for a salary, where she proudly displays that she handled Britney's conservatorship case. So of course, she probably loves that because she made a lot of money doing it, and she got out of it before the whole Free Britney movement. And this woman just irks me for some reason. I know she's an honorable judge, but I just don't like some of the things that she stands for. Like in 2017, she spoke out against transgender individuals who claimed insensitive treatment in the LA court system, and she tried to justify it by saying that judges have to be asking probing and even uncomfortable questions. So of course, she probably doesn't really care how these people feel at the end of the day. But 5 years after she joined that one firm, she jumped to another firm in 2020 called JAMS Mediation firm, where she still lists Britney's conservatorship cases as one of her professional accomplishments. Isn't it such a great accomplishment to take away someone's freedoms and put them in a miserable situation like you did to Britney's? Oh, she must be so proud. The firm that she went to, JAMS, it's also known as being corrupt because one Harvard professor actually spoke out and said that these professionals, where Judge Reva works, actually engage in practices that lead to insidious corruption. So obviously that sounds really scary to me, and looking at this man, like, I would believe him. So in fact, a federal judge actually recently slammed JAMS, hopefully I'm saying that right, it might be JAMS, I don't know, but JAMS for failing to disclose their financial interests and firm contracts that could lead to bias when mediating cases. Another article went so far as to call it financial, I can't say that word on YouTube, financial taking advantage of the elderly, and used a case involving Judge Riva as an example of how judges are using mediation firms to take take advantage of the most vulnerable people. And if you guys don't know what a mediation firm is, honestly, I didn't know what it was either, but it's pretty much an alternative that someone can take when they are involved in a dispute, and they can take their evidence to a third party, and these people will help them agree on a settlement. Usually the mediation is non-binding unless the parties agree to a resulting settlement. So it's a way to handle these things outside of the courtroom and have judges pretty much make choices for you guys that are reasonable and fair instead of having to go through the federal system. And I have a feeling that the judge isn't fond of the federal system, because I'm sure if she was investigated, so much would come out. I mean, watch this clip where she says she doesn't want to ever be dealing with an investigation involving the federal government.
The one group of people I would never want to get investigating me is the federal government. They've got unlimited resources. So it has real teeth if you were to get involved in trying to help your clients hide some assets.
Judge Riva, you may not want that investigation with the federal government, and I get it, honey, because what you've done to Britney Spears is unthinkable, and there's a long track record of history. Like, in this video, I didn't have to make up one thing to get my point across. I literally presented all of the receipts. Thank you, Britney Hiatus, for collecting these, and everyone can see that you are taking advantage of her and that your track record as a judge isn't quite honorable. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Do you trust this judge? Because I don't. Do you think that these people could be working all together to keep Britney in this conservatorship? Because it seems like kind of odd that they're hosting events and going to shows together. Like, obviously they are friends. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in a new video soon. Bye, guys.